Hakadosh Boker Tov, Masechet Yevamot, Shavuot Tov, Masechet Yevamot Daf Kuf Yud Zayin Kuf Yudchet Amud Aleph 118, but we're going to start the 117 Kuf Yud Zayin Amud Bet, just the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, what happens right now, right? We're talking about two co-wives, okay? Two co-wives, they go with their husband to Medinat Hayam, they go on vacation, right? On honeymoon, imagine both of them together, right? They're enjoying themselves, and all of a sudden they come back. One of them comes and says, Met Bali, that the husband died. And the other one comes and he says that he didn't die. Yeah, so there's two different shittot. Did he die? Did he not die? Okay, so Zosho Menetina says, so the one that says that he died, right? Says the Mishnah, Zosho Menet met, the one that says the husband died, Tinase, that he took ketubata. She could get married and she takes her ketubah. The Zosho Menet, the woman that says that he did not die, she's not allowed to get married, she doesn't take the ketubah. Okay, so that's very simple, right? Why? Because the one that says that he died, that's it. Okay, so no problem. Okay, no problem. Very good. Next, second case. What? Next, one of them says met, what happens if they both agree that he died? The question is how? One of them says that he died a natural death. One of them says that he was killed. Rabbi Meir says, so that they contradict each other. They cannot get married. Both of them cannot get married. Okay? So why? Because here they're both sotrot, right? It's not that, so therefore one of them for sure is mishakeret. One of them for sure is going to be lying. So because there was, so we have to select which one is going to be lying. Now we're not going to say this in the previous case, right? He says because since she's prohibited to come and to testify upon the other one, so therefore anyway it doesn't help. But okay, fine. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon said no. You're right. It's contradictory, the cause of death. But do they both agree that he died? They both agree that he dies. So you're not supposed to both of them get married. What do I care now how he died? Okay, you're right. It's a logistics. It's like, that way they write on the death certificate. But right now, is he dead? They both agree yes. So they both agree yes. They can both get married. Next case. Omer met, ve'ed echad omer lo met. Imagine one ed says that he died. And before the psak of the bet din, another witness says that he did not die. So says the Mishnah, Isha omeret met, right? Or the same halacha would apply if one woman comes and says that he died, and another one, right? Another woman comes and says that he did not die. So arezu notina say, either we do not get married. Why? Because it's again the contradictory, so therefore they do not get married. Says the Gemara, okay? Ta'ama de amra lo met. Why is it in the first case that we said when there was a case of a tzara and not tzara, right? Why is it that in the first case we come and we say that when the two wives, co-wives, remember, co-wives come into the bedin, one says the husband died, the other one says the husband did not die, and therefore the one that says that he died, he's allowed to get married, she's allowed to get married, and she gets a ketubah. The one that says he does not die, does not get married, and does not take the ketubah. The reasoning is Damra lo met, because she said he didn't die. So the fact that she said he did not die, she is prohibited to get married. Hayishtika. Why doesn't she keep quiet? Two co-wives come into Bedin. One co-wife says husband died. The other one, quiet. Check it. She'll take it. She's quiet. What's halacha? Says Shtika koda. Tina said she should get married, right? And Sarah Meida Lefamita. Says, 1 second. But I thought you told me that one co-wife cannot testify about another co-wife. Why? What do we say in the Mishnah? Why can one co-wife not testify about another co-wife? It wasn't in this previous Mishnah. Says the doctor, right? He says, Jack, one hates the other. It's like the mother-in-law. Yeah, Richard. Yeah, you agree? Very good. Right? Remember the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, sister-in-law, right? These, right? The Chamesh, it could be even Sheva, depends on the Gemara. Right? The Mishnah was Chamesh. What's today? Right? Yeah, no, no, because of also there was other cases also as well, which we brought down, which is, if one testify about another wife, why? Because they're known to hate each other. But here, this is considered like one is satisfying with the other one. So answers the Gemara, lo met itzlichale. The case of the tzara shniya when she says lo met, that is the chidush, right? Why? In a case where she keeps quiet, pashut that it's going to be asur, right? Why? Because the other wife, the co-wife, could testify about herself, but she cannot testify about the co-wife. So that's pashut, it's asur. But sal kadaita chamina, I would have thought to say that even if she said lo met, hamait, right? Maybe I would say, she would say lo met, even though that she knows that he did die. The kamra lo met. So why is she saying lo met? Lekalkula letzarai de mekavna. She wants to be mekalkel her tzara, right? The tamot nafshi in pelishtim kam, and therefore tamot nafshi in pelishtim kamash malan. Therefore, it's coming to teach you that even in that case, also it's going to be asur to get married. Everyone knows the concept of tamot nafshi in pelishtim. Let me first explain this concept, then we'll go back to the Gemara. Right? We know that Shimshon, right, from Shevet Dan, was a gibor. Yeah, Shimshon. How did he become such a gibor? He was a Nazir. You just read it in Parashat, in the Haftarah of Parashat Naso, right, of Nazir. What happened is that he got married to a Goya. Yeah, and she Keilu converted. And we know what happens usually. So she comes and she was paid off. She was paid off by the Philistine, by her home country. She was paid off by them to find out what was his secret. Because he was killing out the Philistine right, left, and center. And they got upset. So they had a lot of money and they paid her in order to get her husband to tell them the secret. So I don't know why the husband was very, very foolish. Right? The husband was very foolish. Why? Because he tested her once, right? But he gave her a different reason. And she actually tried it. And when he caught her, she said, no, I was just trying to make sure if it was true what you said or not. Right? But she caused him suffering. The Gemara actually says, where did she cause him suffering? In relations. And therefore, when they were having relations, she would always just stop in the middle and say, no, you don't tell me the truth. Right? You don't tell me what's going on. That's it. She abstains. She was actually still what? So remember, the seed is only in the hair and in wine, but not in relations, right? You're allowed to. So therefore, what happened is that yes, the Muslims do it, 100%, but we don't, right? So what happened is that all of a sudden he gave her the cue. He gave her the secret. What was the secret? It was an azir. So what does she do? She comes, she cuts the hair, and then Kaddish, he loses all his strength. All of a sudden they come in. Right, they break in. He comes like the gibor, and you realize he has no strength. He can do nothing. They took him, and they took him away. So again, this is the faithful, loving wife. Now, one second, before he dies, first of all, they poked out his eyes. What? So they poked out his eyes. So what happened is that Shimshon is put into a huge stadium, okay, and he's tied to the pole. Right, to the supports of the stadium, and he's there, and they're all watching him because they want to have some fun. This is the guy that killed so many thousands and thousands, and now they want their revenge. Now this is where they was. So he comes and he tells Hakadosh Baruch Hu, "V'nakma nekam achat mishte enai," right? V'nakma nekamacha mipelishtim, right? What does that mean? He comes and he says to Hakadosh Baruch Hu, they took out both of his eyes. Why did they take out both of his eyes? Because he went after his eyes. He got married, right, to the Goya. And he went after his eyes. So they plucked out both of his eyes. So he said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, fine, but at least one of those eyes, give me the revenge here, the reward in this world. And I'm going to take my nikama, the revenge, against the Philistine. What happened is he said, Tamot nafshim Philistine. What does that mean? Anyway, he's going to die. So if he's already going to die, he might as well kill them as well. So what did he do? He asked for the revenge from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him his last strength. And with his last strength, he tore down the entire pillars. And the entire building collapsed. And that killed more people than what he killed throughout what he killed throughout all the years. Imagine that big entire stadium, an entire stadium coming down. So imagine, that's what he came and he killed out. So because of that, there's a concept that sometimes, right, you could come and you tell a person, why are you doing this? And they'd say, Tamot nashim Philistine. What does that mean? I should die with the Philistine, which means that sometimes anyway, the guy's being taken down. So he says, but if he's going to be taken down, I might as well take him down as well. 1 second, why are you taking him down? No, because once he's going down anyway, he might as well take the other one down as well. That's the concept of tamot nafshi im pelishtim. So because of that, says the Gemara, listen carefully. Our Mishnah just said, in the case where she comes and she says that he did not, that she keeps quiet, pashut, that she's going to be believed, right? That what? That she's going to be believed for herself, but she's not believed for the co-wife. And therefore, if the co-wife keeps quiet, for sure she cannot get married. What's the chidush? The chidush is when she says that he didn't die, even though he did die. Now you're going to ask, 1 second, why is she going to say then that he didn't die? Very simple, because now she wants to be mekalkel, the tzara, right? She wants her to become an aguna. Since she hates her so much, she wants her to become an aguna and not to get married anymore. And therefore, even though through this testimony, she's also going to prohibit herself to get married again, she says in her own heart, what do I care if she's going to become an aguna as long as her tzara becomes an aguna? Yeah, exactly. That's her, meaning that she wants that revenge. She hates her so much. She doesn't care about herself now. Here in the footnote, something incredible. He says, technically speaking, what if she retracts? Is she going to be believed? Meaning that many times, right, you come and you could say something, and that's what you retract, and you give a good amtila. Amtila is a good, the one thing, it's a good excuse, right? For example, there is such thing as retracting. For example, let's say a woman comes and she tells you, right, Richard, I'm gonna die. Yeah, your wife tells you, I'm gonna die, right? And then you, fine. 5 minutes later, or whatever, 2 hours later, the next day she comes, she starts touching you. You say, wait a second, you just told me I'm gonna die. He says, no, you don't understand anything. Yesterday, you had guests over, and you started playing all coochie coochie, you understand? And I was embarrassed. I just said you're already done, got rid of you, get out of here. He said, now they're already gone, right? And now it's okay, right? Or my mother was around, you start fooling around. You said, what are you doing foreplay when your mother's around? You said, so therefore, what happened? So she said that. Is she believed or not?
Absolutely.
100% she's believed. Only with a good excuse. Only with a good excuse she's believed. Right? So 100%. No, but even though she said it, that she's an that she could retract with a good excuse. Right? No, 1 second. So the question is, can she come and she retract in this case because of this excuse? So here the Tosfot brings down, no. It's not a good enough excuse. That means even though we do say that there's a concept, it's not a good enough excuse to retract. The reason why is because usually when we use it as a good excuse, it's ki'ilu that you didn't say it. That means even though you did say something and you put your foot in it or your mouth in it, but we say it's ki'ilu you didn't say it. Here though, in a case, for example, of Anida, she comes and she says, what's the excuse? I didn't have koch for tashmish. I didn't want to, you were driving me crazy. I wanted to get you off my back. I just said I'm Anida. Come on, the next day, now she's a little bit more calm. Now she has more strength. So now she could withhold it, right? She could say, okay, fine, no problem. She's going to believe. Why? Because that dibur, that speech that she said, she was an ida. When she's going to give a good excuse, we take away that speech as if she didn't say anything. Here, if we're going to do the exact same thing, what happened? She said that the husband did not die. She gives an excuse. What's the excuse? She didn't want that the co-wife should get remarried. What do? We take away the sentence, he did not die. But what happens? But that means we only have the testimony of the co-wife that the husband did die. So because of that, she's still prohibited. So therefore, he says that's why it doesn't help. Even if we say that she has a good excuse or this excuse, it doesn't help that she's still going to be prohibited. Because even though we are wiped away the sentence, it doesn't help. What happens if one of the husband says that he died a natural death on his bed? And the second one came and said, no, he was killed. So now again, remember, the Tanakama said that they're contradictory. So therefore, none of them can get married. But Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon says, what do I care about contradictory? They both agree that he's dead. What do I care about the facts of how? Right? We don't care about how. We just want to know the Masechet, dead or not. So says the Gemara, 1 second, why in the first case didn't we have the machloke between Rabbi Meir? Right? Also, when one of them says dead, and one of them says not dead, according to Shitat Rabbi Meir, right? Since it's the tzara, it's contradicting the other one. So therefore, even the one that says met, she should not get married, right? Well, what's going on here? Why is it in the first case of the Mishnah? One more time. First case of the Mishnah was one says he died, one says he didn't die. The one there, in that case, the one that says that he dies, she takes the ketubah. Why? It should be like the second case, just like the second case. One says that he died a natural death. One says that he was killed. And over there, Rabbi Meir said that they're both contradictory, so therefore nobody's allowed to get married. So also the first case say the same thing, right? Nobody's allowed to get married. Answers the Gemara, Ambar Rabbi Lazar, b'machloket shenuya, Rabbi Yehuda v'Rabbi Shimon. You're right. Even if it was said stam, now usually stam mishnah, stam means without any author of who it is. But even though usually stam mishnah is Rabbi Meir, here it's a machloket and it's in the shita of Rabbi Yehuda v'Rabbi Shimon, which means that since they hold that when the co-wife is not contradicting the other one, so therefore you're right. According to shita Rabbi Meir, even in the first case, he would argue and say that she's not allowed to get married either. Even the wife that says that he did die, not allowed to get married. Another shita, Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Rabbi Yochanan says, no, afilu temer. Even if you're going to tell me the entire Mishnah is Rabbi Meir, which means in the first case it's also Rabbi Meir. So why doesn't he argue? He says, in the first case of the Mishnah, even Rabbi Meir holds on this. Why? Right? What does that mean? Any time that a woman says that she did not die, that is, and this is a testimony of a woman, right? So therefore, it's not considered a chasha, but rather we come and we believe the one that says that she did die. Okay? Now she comes and explains what does this mean exactly. He comes and he says that Rabbi Yochanan, right? They're bringing different rayot. What's the exact reason exactly, right? But he explains this. If right now they both come and they both say that he's dead, okay? So what happens in that case, right? If one woman comes and she says that he died, one woman comes and she says that he did not die. So the ikar testimony, the main testimony is to prohibit the co-wife of getting married. That's what it says over here. That's therefore the tzara is testifying that the husband did not die. The ikar of the testimony is the dat chaverta to prohibit her from getting married. So therefore, we're going to suspect that she's going to be mishakeh, right? She's going to lie in order to come and cause her to suffer. However, though, when they're coming and they're contradicting each other on how was he killed, right? Ikar the edut is to permit each other. And therefore, according to Shitat Rabbi Meir, we're not going to suspect that the second one is going to be mekalkel the first edut, but rather it's edut mucheshet, right? Which is basically it's contradictory. It's a contradictory testimony, and therefore they're both prohibited to come and to get married. One more time, if one says he died, the other one comes and says he did not die. The one that says that he did not die, her main testimony is to prohibit the first woman of getting married. That's her main testimony. So therefore, because of that, she's not going to be believed. Why is she not going to be believed? Right? Because at the end of the day, her testimony is to do with somebody else. And who's that somebody else? Her best friend, obviously. Which means, so therefore, she's not believed at all. So therefore, the first woman is allowed to get married. In the second case, they both agree that he died. The question is how. So therefore, since in both the cases, they both agree that he died. So therefore, the testimony is not to prohibit the other woman. It's to permit the other woman. Because each one is permitting the co-wife, but in a different form. Because one says that he died a natural death, and one says that he was killed, right? But they both agree that he died. So nobody's prohibiting the other woman. It's just trying to permit. So in such a case, since there's a contradictory of evidence, right, of the facts of what was going on, we consider it that it's contradictory testimony. And once it's contradictory testimony, we cancel it out. And it's if that there's no testimony at all. And that's why they're prohibited to get married, according to Rabbi Meir. Not because, right, each one was testifying for the negative or the positive, but rather since they were both testifying for the positive, and now it's contradictory, we take them out of the equation, now there's no testimony. Capish? We're going to now ask against Rabbi Yochanan. Today we learned in the Mishnah, and the end of the Mishnah. What happens now if you have contradictory of the witnesses, not the wives, witnesses? One witness says that he died, one witness says that he didn't die, or one woman says that he died, one woman says that he did not die. They're not allowed to get married. Now, when you say the Isha merit, it's mashma on any woman. even on a co-wife, right? Because you say a woman. Which woman? Any woman. It doesn't say which type of woman. It's not for anybody. I understand Rabbi Lazar. Stama could be me. Why? Because he says that this stama is like me. And therefore, we're going to come and we're going to say, right, that just like in the nature of the Mishnah, we taught that the tzara is not believed to be machish chaverta, right? So Rabbi Lazar comes and he explains, and Shitat Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Shimon, that it is, but he argues. So according to him, the safe of the Mishnah, which is the exact opposite, is good according to Rabbi, but he holds that a tzara could go against chaverta bechol inyan, which means one tzara could always go against another tzara, and there's no problem. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, that he holds that even Rabbi holds in the first case that what? That it's not considered a chasha, it's not considered a contradictory evidence. So he says, kasha, it's a question. Because according to him, the safe of the Mishnah is not going like anybody. It's not going like a Rabbi, it's not going to be Rabbi Shimon. So he says, kasha, it's a good question. Right? Okay, fine. Now we're going to start the next Mishnah. Yeah, Mishnah, Kuv Yudchet Amud Aleph in the middle. Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Haisha she'alcha hi u'ba'ala minat hayam. Again, the woman is taking her husband for vacation, right? And then she happens to come back and he's dead. Yeah, but that's just the case. Yeah, they go on vacation. And all of a sudden she comes and she says, yeah, he says, Met Bali. Yeah, he comes and he says, let's go. Baba Haki, don't get any ideas. Yeah, let's go. Haisha she'alcha hi u'ba'ala minat hayam. So a woman that she comes with her husband to Midiyat Hayam. And all of a sudden she comes and she says, Mepali, the husband died. So what happened? Tina says she could get married. But she talked to Bata, she's going to take her ketubah. The tzarata surah, but her co-wife is going to be prohibited. Right? Bat Yisrael Kohen. If right now the tzara was a Bat Yisrael that she's married to a Kohen, Tochal B'Truma, she can continue eating Truma. Why? Because we still think that maybe the husband's still alive. Right? And she doesn't have to suspect that he died. These are words of Bitafon. Bikiva says, no. Enzo aterech shemotziata midei avera ad shtei asura linesev asura v'yachol b'truma. He says, no. He says the fact that the tzara is not testifying about her, about the sapek avera, about eating truma when she's not able to eat truma, because she's not going to come out of chashash isur until she's permitted to get married, and she's not allowed to eat truma as well. That means according to Shitat Rabbi Akiva, right, which is Chachamim, they didn't believe her to do with the heter of the swing, but it's not going to be a chazakah because it's for sure she's mishakeret. It's only chashash. So therefore, the same thing. Because of that, to do with eating the truma, we're going to suspect the chumla that maybe bemet it was true, and therefore she's prohibited also to eat in truma. So now this woman just loses in everything. The co-wife, now she's not allowed to get married because it was a testimony of a co-wife, and she's not allowed to eat truma either. She stops eating truma. How much? That case of the Mishnah, very similar to do with the testimony of a daughter-in-law, right? Imagine right now a woman goes to Midiyat Hayam with her husband and the father-in-law. She comes back and she says, Met Bali ve'achaka bet chami. First the husband died, and then it was the father-in-law. Yeah? So they both happened to die. Yeah? Yeah, she's very strong. What do you think? Yeah? Tina said that he took ketubata. She's allowed to get married, and she takes the ketubah. The hamota asura. Her mother-in-law is prohibited. Her mother-in-law cannot get married again.
What do you have to do with the mother-in-law has to do?
Because if she just testified that the father-in-law died, now the mother-in-law should be permitted to get married. But the fact that it's a daughter-in-law to the mother-in-law, we said was one of the women which they are not believed because they hate each other. So because of that, the mother-in-law stays in Aguna. She cannot get married.
It's objective. He has a good mother-in-law. You know?
Bat Yisrael lekohen. What happens if the mother-in-law, right, was a Bat Yisrael married to a Kohen, meaning that the father-in-law was a Kohen, right? Tochal, she's allowed to eat truma. These words are Rabbi Tavot. It's the same case. Rabbi Akiva says, no, and to that shemotia v'davina shtei asura. In a sense of no, Rabbi Akiva. So the exact same case. According to Rabbi Tavot, she's allowed to continue eating truma. According to Rabbi Akiva, she's not allowed to continue eating truma. Says the Gemara with tzvicha. I need both cases. I need the case of the co-wives, and I need the case of the mother-in-law daughter. Why? To eat. When I was only brought down the first case, which was the co-wives. The Hakam, in that case, Rabbi Tavot said we should be tzara de rufa. Why? Because the sin'ah is so strong because of tzara guf. Because this is the tzara guf that she's calling her. At the end of the day, she's taking away the relations from her husband. It's a co-wife, meaning the husband's not giving her all the relations. She's also giving the other woman relations. So it causes her suffering. It's called tzara guf. She's the body is suffering. So because of that, that's why she's doing it. She wants to get back at it. This tzara guf. It's mamash strong. Abal chamuta. But the mother-in-law, tzara mina de alma. It only works. At the end of the day, what is the mother-in-law going to do? The mother-in-law is going to say, you're not taking care of your children properly, or that you should treat my son better, or you. It's only words. It's not tzara guf. It's not that you understand. The first case of the co-wife, she's mamash taking away the relations from her, and because she's the co-wife, so it's tzara guf. The body's suffering. And the second one, it's just words. Words. You could do whatever you want. The words were going to break me, right? Correct? Yeah, it's a famous saying. Yeah. So he says, right, sticks and stones can break my bones. The words will never break. Right? That's a real thing. What does that mean? At the end of the day, right, words cannot break a person. Okay, fine, let her talk. So let her talk to the wall. You understand? Correct. That's what you have to do. So he says, Aval chamotad tzara mina de alma. Now let's say the opposite case. If it was only written in the second case, which is the case of the daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law, here Rabbi Kiva comes and he says, why? That there's such a great sin'ah, because there's no greater sin'ah like the sin'ah of the mother-in-law daughter-in-law. But in the other case, which is to do with the tzara guf, I would say maybe the Bitafon, he actually agrees, right, to Rabbi Akiva, but for sure she's lying. Meaning I would say the exact opposite. That in this case, even if Bitafon agrees to Rabbi Akiva, that for sure she's lying. So she's for sure lying, right? So therefore we would permit it. But we would permit her to come to eat the truma. Fine. Next, 2 dots. Yeah? Amar of Yehuda Mashur says of Yehuda in the name of Shemuel. Right? Lacha can be tarfon. The lacha is like tarfon, not like Rabbi Akiva. Which means that she's not allowed to get married, but she's allowed to continue eating truma. Okay? Amar Rabbi says, Afana Mintanina. We also actually learned this in our Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Nitan li ben b'mdinat hayam. What happens when a woman comes and she says that she had a boy in Dinat Hayam? And then she says, however, though, she had a boy. Yeah, imagine, a woman goes outside, she comes back to town, she had a boy. But, met bani, met bali. Then she says that the boy died, and then the husband died. And therefore, she still needs to do yibum. She's permitted to permit herself to yibum. However, though, bali, if she says the husband died, and then the son died, right? So therefore, now she's going to be ptura from Ibum Chalitza. And she's not permitted to herself, right? However, though, even though she cannot permit herself to get married to the marketplace, but we do suspect to her words. So therefore, she has to chalitza, but not Ibum, right? That's why it's like a little bit we believe her words. We're going to suspect for her words the chumrah, but for the testimony of a co-wife, and choshim, we're not going to suspect whatsoever. So therefore, you see that the Stam Mishnah was like a bitafon. Shvamina, so therefore we pass it like a bitafon, just like Shmuel said. Kuf Yudchet Amubet 118b says the Mishnah. Yeah? Kuf Yudchet, yeah, you have to go to the page, yeah? Not the phone, it's on the page. Yeah? So, says the Mishnah. Kidesh achat mechamesh nashim ve'en yodea ezo kidesh. Right? This is a very interesting case. Imagine a person comes and does kiddushin to one of 5 women, but he doesn't know which one. Yeah? They were at a party, right? He drank a little bit. That's the famous joke that a person goes to a party, he gets a little bit drunk. The next morning he wakes up and is married. I know, but there's and it's happened. No, and it happens a lot. Yeah, but what happens here though is as follows: a person comes, he does kiddushin to one of 5 women, he doesn't know which one. Right now, the kolachat omeret, and each one says that he got married to me, oti kidesh. Right. So now we have a very big problem. Now, why are they saying that? Obviously, the guy was loaded and he had a lot of money, so therefore they want a lot of money from the ketubah. So they all say, "Listen, he got married to me." So now, what's going to happen here? So, what happens if he doesn't want to get married to all of them? Right? Because obviously, if he wants to get married to all of them, he's allowed to. It's a big deal. So get married to all of them with the money. Right? But obviously, he doesn't want to get married to all of them. So what does he do? Noten get lechol echad ba'achat. right? He gives a get to every single one of them. ومنيح كتبة بينهم ويسلك. He puts the money of the ketubah in between them, and he removes himself. Let them kill themselves over the ketubah. But he's only giving one ketubah. The get, he does have to give a get to every single woman. Because at the end of the day, he has to permit all of them to the shul. But the ketubah puts the money in the middle. You guys fight it out. Nothing to do with me. Whoever was the real one, you guys fight it out, not me. Okay? These are the words of Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Akiva Omer, Enzo derech, that's the way. Right? Enzo derech shmotiato, midei avera, I want to take him out of the safek of gezel, ad sheyiten get, uktuba, lechol achat v'achat. According to Rabbi Akiva, right, he's mamash in trouble. He has to give a get and ketubah to every single woman. Why? Because if you're only going to give the money in one ketubah, somebody's going to be stealing. So it's not the way of getting out of it. So he put his foot in it. He was the one that made this mistake, right? That not knowing of who he got married to. So because of that, he's going to pay for it. He's going to pay big bucks, yeah? He's going to pay a ketubah to every single woman. Okay, that's a machloket of Akiva, Vitarfon. Another, right, case, very similar. Gazal chamisha. Imagine somebody steals from one of 5 people. He doesn't know from who. He stole, but he doesn't know from who did he steal. וכל אחד אומר, each one says, Oti gazal. What does that mean, Oti gazal? He stole from me. Maniach kezela benenu mistalek. Says Rabbi Tarfon, the same thing. Put the money down, let them fight it out, and he just removes himself. Rabbi Akiva says, no. How's it going to take away from the effect of the Isur of Avirah? Ad Shalom, he has to pay every single one of these 5 guys. He has to pay them, right, to get out of the problem. Okay? Says the Gemara. Ask the Gemara, Kidesh Katan. In the Mishnah, the Machlok between Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva, was only in Kidesh. What is Kiddushin? Through Kesed or Shtar. Ba'al lo Katan. But we didn't learn about Be'ilah. So it's mashma that only in the case of Kiddushin was Rabbi Tarfon saying, put one ketubah. Why? Because since there was no iniquity done to any of them. However, though, what happens right now if he did an action, okay, and he did Kiddushin through Biyah? Rabbi Tarfon holds that since it was an action which actually defiled her, say before she was a virgin, now she's not a virgin anymore. So because of that, Rabbi Tarfon would admit to the Chachamim that he has to pay ketubah for every single woman to get out of the safek that he went and he sinned against her. Because there, it's like something negative happened. If it was just shtar or kesef, fine, he gave money. That's the normal way of kiddushin. So since it was the normal way of kiddushin, we have a doubt. Since Rabbi Tarfon put the money in the middle, let them kill themselves. I'd let them fight it out. What does that have to do with me? I'd let them fight it out. But here, if he actually had relations with one of them, which means that now there's something negative done to her, and now she's going down value, as I say. So because of that, all of a sudden now, completely different halacha. Even according to Rabbi Tarfon, he has to pay ketubah to every single woman. Gazal ketani. We also learned gazal. What does that mean? In the Sefer, we learned that he stole from one of these 5 people. Lakach, look at him. We didn't talk about that he just purchased something, and he doesn't remember who he purchased it from. Okay, was each one saying, I sold it to him, so he has to pay me. Right? Why? So it's mashma that Rabbi Akiva was only arguing with Rabbi Tarfon only in the case of Gezelah, because there Rabbi Akiva said that there's a knas, right? That since you went and you didn't have that you stole, you have to pay back. Who do you pay back? Each one, to make sure that you paid back the right person. However, though, if you just purchased something and now you want to pay for it, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't remember who I bought it. There's five stores, one right beside each other in the marketplace. They're all selling the exact same thing. I don't remember, and each one tells me who was there, and now I don't remember anymore. So in such a case, Rabbi Akiva says we don't give a knas. There he holds like Rabbi Tarfon, put the money in the middle, and get yourself out of it. So money that's needing. So who is the Tana of our Mishnah? Right? It's not like Tanakama, not like Shimon ben Elazar. Right? The Tana was learned in a bright. Shimon ben Elazar says, "Lo nechlatu Rabbi Tarfon Rabbi Akiva al shekidesh chamin shnashim." Right? Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon were not arguing in a case of kiddushin to one of 5 women. Maybe as a kiddush, doesn't know which one he got married to. That he's going to put the money down and he's going to remove himself. What was the machlok between them? al sheba'al on Be'ilah, meaning according to this Tana, right? The Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar is coming and saying that the machloket Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva was not in a case of kiddushin. It was only in a case of biyah. Rabbi Tarfon says put the money and biznistaleh, and Rabbi Akiva says no, and Shalom pay each one, right? So the same thing. Right? Where the Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon were not arguing a case where he purchased from 5 people. He doesn't know from which one he purchased. That's he just puts the money and he removes himself. So what was the machloket? Only shegazal, when he stole. Ritzvon says, put the money in the gazela in the middle and you remove yourself. And according to Rabbi Akiva, you have to pay each one back, right, for the money. So from the fact that Rabbi Shimon comes and he says that in Kidesh and Lakach, there's no machloket. Miklal comes out that according to Tanakama, there is a machloket, right? That means that in the first case there was a machloket. Now in the cases of Baal and Gazal, right, that you have the Chuvat Tashlum, Rabbi Tarfon is going to be moved to Rabbi Akiva, right? So therefore, money, who is the Tana of Mishnah? So if it's going to be Tanakama, Litni Kidesh V'Lakach, right? If it's a Tanakama, you should have said Kidesh and Lakach. One more time, what's going on here? There are 2 different cases in each. There's Kidesh and Baal. Kidesh is the proper way of doing Kiddushin, right? Kiddushin, through shtar, document, or kesef, for money. Baal is the relations. In the second case, you have Lakach and you have Gazal. Lakach is the purchase and Gazal is the stole. So now there's something wrong with our Mishnah, because our Mishnah took one case in the Reisha, the former part of the Mishnah, which is what? The lighter case, which is Kiddushin and not relations. But then in the Seifa and the latter part of the Mishnah, it took the stricter of the cases, which was Gazal and not, which is stealing and not Lakach, purchasing. So who's our Mishnah? It doesn't make sense. Because in our Mishnah, it said that there was a machloket in both cases. Meaning, in Kidesh, it was a machloket. Right? What does that mean? Do you put the money in the middle and then you remove yourself, the ketubah, or you pay each one? Mashma, that if it was biyah, then Rabbi Tarfon agrees to Rabbi Akiva that he has to pay every single woman. Correct? Now, what about the second case? The second case of the Mishnah, in the Mishnah itself, said Gazal. Gazal, it said there was a machloket, Rabbi Akiva and Tarfon. So it's mashma that if it was lakach, Rabbi Akiva admits to Rabbi Tarfon, you put the money in the middle, and then what? And then you remove yourself. So therefore, that's our Mishnah. But says the Gemara, who's the author of our Mishnah? Because there's a machloket between Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar and Tanakam. And there Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar comes and he says that there's no machloket, right, in the case of Kiddushin and in the case of Lakach. The only machloket was in the case of Baal and in the case of Gazal. So now, Masma, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar holds this. Tanakama argues that Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. So now, 1 second. So who's our Mishnah then? Because our Mishnah, you're taking one from each side. You're taking the lenient case by the Kiddushin, and you're taking the stricter case by the case of Gizela, which is not like anything. So what's going on? That's what I'm going to ask. If you're going to tell me Tanakama, Litni Kidesh Lakach, you should have taught Kidesh, Kiddushin, and not Be'ilah, and you should have taught Lakach, purchasing, and not stealing. Because according to that Shita, Rabbi Tarfon admits in such a case, you have to pay each and every single person. And if it's going to be the Shimon ben Elazar, you should have taught Baal Begazal. You should have taught Be'ilah and Gizela, not Kiddushin and Gizela. So who's our Mishnah? Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Really, it's Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Right? I mean, the author of our Mishnah is Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. For my Kidesh, what does it mean Kidesh and got engaged like a wedding? Kidesh B'Biyah. It says, really, our entire Mishnah is like Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. And when it said in the beginning of the Mishnah, Kidesh, that Kidesh meant through Kiddushin, through Biyah. Meaning he got married through relations. And therefore, since he got married through relations, the entire Mishnah is like Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. So Tana Kidesh, so then why did he say Kidesh? Right? He said, that even though a person didn't Isur de Rabbanan, because here he got married through relations, which is an Isur de Rabbanan, still he gets a knas. The rabbis gave him a penalty. You do an isur d'Rabbanan, even if it's only a rabbinical isur, I give you a penalty. What's the penalty? Pay every single one of these women. Pay the money. The Tana Gazdal was teaching you the Koach of Rabbi Tarfon that even though the person did isur d'oraita, which is stealing, Rabbi Tarfon still did not give a knas, and he didn't say that they had to come and you had to pay to every single person. Next Mishnah, Uvyutchet Amud Bet. Second Mishnah. Last Mishnah of the Perek. Haisha shelcha hiu ba'ala l'mdinat hayam ubna imahem. So now they're going on a family vacation. A woman goes with her husband and with her child. Ubad ve'amna, then after she comes and she says, Met ba'ali ve'achak met beni. First the husband died, and then the son dies. Now she's permitted to get married with a chalitza and boom. In a minute she's going to be believed, right? Why? Right? Because it says over here, because now she's going to say, because she's already Tura Miyubu. Meaning the fact that she came out with a child, she's already Tura from Miyubu. So she didn't change from her status quo. You understood? The previous Mishnah, or the previous case that we brought down is that she went to the diaspora, and then she comes back and she said, by the way, I had a child. And by the way, you know what I'm saying? We don't believe all these Baba Mises, all these stories that women go away, all of a sudden she comes back, she has a child. It doesn't work. You understand? These things don't work. So therefore, there she was taking out, right, from a decree, meaning that right now she was obligated to do Yibum and Chalitza. She didn't have children. She comes back, there's a child. There's a child. No. There you want to take out from a Chazakah, there you're not going to believe her. Here, she's already patur from Chalitza Yibum. She already has a child. The second that she has a child, she's patur from Chalitza Yibum. So therefore, when she comes back from the vacation and she says that the husband died, and then the child, since anyway she was already patur from Chalitza Yibum, we leave her on that status quo, and therefore she's going to be believed. In a minute, she's going to be believed. What happens if she says, what happens if she says that first the son died and then, right, the husband, which means now she has to do Yibum and Chalitza. In a minute, she's not going to be believed. Right? Why? Right? Because at the end of the day, it's the exact opposite. Now here, she's putting herself into a safek of karet, of getting married to Eshet Ah, of the brother she's getting married, she would get married to the brother-in-law, which is a karet. So here we don't believe her to put her into that chazakah. But we do suspect for her words. So since we do suspect for her words, so therefore she has to do chalitza, but no yibum. She's not allowed to do yibum. Okay, fine. Next case, which is the case that I just mentioned before. Whatever she left, she wasn't pregnant. All of a sudden, she comes back and she said she had a child in Medinat Hayam. And then she says the child died and the husband. Here she is believed. Why is she believed? Because again, even before she left, she had to do Yibum Chalitza. So now that she says that she had a child, we don't believe that. So therefore, she could do Yibum Chalitza. But if she said that the husband died and then it was a son, and now she stood up from Yibum, and she's not going to believe. Why? She still needs to do Chalitza Yibum. But we're going to suspect her words that she does Chalitza, not Yibum. Right? Just on the case that maybe Be'emet, it did actually happen. What happens if a woman comes and she says, right, that the mother-in-law had a child, okay, and therefore she's going to have this yibum, right, from this man. Remember that yibum can only be done by a brother, which is alive at the same time as the death of the husband, right? Remember that. Or they have to be in the same world at the same time. Remember that? We learned this already, right? Many times already. Okay? Amra, she comes and says, Met Bali, first the husband died, and then the Yavam died. And therefore, if the Yavam died, she's permitted to get married to the Shul, right? Or Yevami Bali, or first the Yavam died, and then the husband. In this case, she's going to be believed. Why? Because when she came out, right, without the Yavam, anyway, she didn't need to do Yibum because there was no Yavam. There was no Yavam ever. She was the one that brought the Yavam into the picture because she said that the mother-in-law had a child, right, which is a boy that could be the Yavam. So the fact that she brought the Yavam into the picture, she's believed to say that the Yavam died as well. Because anyway, she was never needed to do Yibum. So basically, again, remember, as long as she's not going against her status quo now, she's always going to be okay. What happens now? What happens if she went to Medinat Hayam with her husband and the brothers, right? Which means the brother-in-law would have to do Yibum if the husband dies. The Amra, she says, First the husband died, and then the Yavam. Or the opposite. Yevami, first the Yavam, and then the husband. And then here in both cases, she's not going to be believed to take out of the chazakah to permit her to get married to the shul. Right? Because the woman is not believed to say that the Yavam died, Shetina said to get married to the shul. Or that the sister died in order to get married to the husband of the sister. Right? Or a man is not believed to say that the brother died in order to do yibum to the wife. Not the wife died in order to get married to her sister. So you do see here that in certain times, all of a sudden there's foul play or things like that. They're going to start suspecting. Imagine a husband, a man comes, no, the brother died. So now he wants to do yibum with the sister-in-law. Or the wife died. Now he got married to the sister-in-law. No. In all these cases, we do not, right? We do not allow. Says the Gemara. The Gemara says, asks Rava to Rav Nachman, Hamzake get leishto bimkom yavam. Mahu. What happens if a person is going to be mizakeh, a get to his wife through a third party, right? Instead of falling in front of the yavam, which means the person has no children, he's got a brother, and he puts a third party in order to come and to get the get for his wife that she should get married now in order not to do yibum. What's halacha? Do we say that the girushin, the divorce, is going to be chal immediately once the person gets the get, because kilu he's the shliach of the Kabbalah, the shliach to receive it from the wife, or not? Okay. Now, what happened was obviously is that the messenger received it, and then the husband dropped dead. Now the question is, when is she considered divorced? The second and the third party received the get or not? That's the Gemara is what's asking. Okay. So, okay, here usually we have the concept of zachin la'adam shelo b'panav, but in chavin la'adam shelo b'panav, basically a person, I could make a person get a merit not in front of me. So for example, if right now Babachaki wanted to give me $1 million, yeah, and I'm not, what? Yeah. And what happened is I'm not around. So he comes and he gives to Jean-Jacques the money, and he says, receive this for the rabbi. So obviously, zachin la'adam shelo b'panav, which means it's a zechut. The second he gives it to Jean-Jacques, right? Automatically I receive it, right? Automatically. Okay, fine. What happens now, though, if it's a debt, if it's something bad? Meaning he's going to give something, let's say to Dr. John Paul, right? And it's something actually negative for me. So I don't receive it. Because en chavin la'adam shelo b'panav, only zachin la'adam shelo b'panav. If it's a zechut, if it's a good thing, then yes. If it's a bad thing, right? Why? Because maybe I don't want it. If I don't want it, keep it yourself. I don't want anything. You know what I'm saying? I don't want the problems. So now what happens is like this. So the question is, here, do you say usually a get? It's not something good, right? If a woman receives a get, it's not something good, right? Unless she really wants it. Yeah, it's usually something good. But here, maybe she doesn't want it, but she doesn't want to do yibum. So here the question is this considered a zechut, or is it considered a chovah? Is it considered something good, something bad? Okay, understood?
Maybe we take testimony to find that out.
That's the Gemara. Kevan desanya lei, since right now minastam she hates the yavam, so therefore it's a zechutulav zechil'adam shelo b'panav, right? She doesn't want the brother-in-law, right? And therefore, what's going to happen is automatically she hates him, and therefore it's that she's a kufar. She doesn't want to fall in front of the brother-in-law. Well, Dilmar, maybe we're going to say kevan dezimin derachamale. Sometimes she actually likes him, and she wants to do right yibum. Sometimes it happens, right? It was a younger brother-in-law, and all of a sudden the younger one was cool, or he was this, and she says, I fell with the older one. He's a hamor, I don't know what. The younger one is much more, this, that. So maybe it's actually something bad. Then we don't want to give a chova to a person. So Amalei, so then we have a doubt. We don't know. Yeah, because sometimes it could be that she hates him, and sometimes it could be that she likes him. So says the Gemara, Amalei. So he comes and he tells Rabba, Tanina, we already learned it, right? We said that we're going to suspect for her words, and we do chalitza, and we do not do yibum. So it comes out that we have a doubt, right? If the woman actually has love towards her brother-in-law or hate towards her brother-in-law, and because of that, we're going to be choshesh for both of the sides. And we suspect for both. So therefore, what does she do? She does chalitza, not yibum. By doing it that way, for sure, there's no problem. Right? Why? Because now that's it. You understand? So says the Gemara. Amar le Rabbi Rava says Rabbi to Rava, Hamzake gel ishto bimkom ketata. What happens if they're in a fight? The husband and the wife, they're in a fight, and he gives a get to somebody else, a third party. What's halacha? Since there's a fight between them, well, they're arguing. So then she wants them. So it's a good thing for her. Or maybe at the end of the day, the woman prefers that even if there's going to be a fight, she's still married. Meaning, women don't like the feeling that she's divorced, or she's alone, or she's widowed. She wants to feel that she's married, even if it's but she's married. So therefore, even if there's fighting, she still prefers to be married. So what's the halacha? So Tashma, Shakish says that Shakish, listen to these words for the rest of your life. Tav lemeitav tandu milemeitav armelu. What does that mean? It's better to live with like two bodies than to live like an almanah, which means, right? That means basically she would prefer to have a husband, to stay married, even though she's not becoming one, right? Because usually a man and a woman, they become one body, become one entity. She prefers being two different people. She prefers with the fights, and she prefers, doesn't matter what, right? That's what it says. Tav lemeitav, it's good. Lemeitav, to sit, right? Tandu, to be like two. Lemeitav armela, to sit like an almanah. Armela is an almanah, right? To be a widow, which means a woman doesn't want to be alone. So it doesn't matter who it is. The guy could be, you could come and you could say, I don't know, somewhere you're getting married to such a guy. And the answer is very simple. Loneliness. She doesn't want to be alone. And the fact that she doesn't want to be alone, right? Which one? 100% peace is better. But even she prefers to be not in peace, but to be married, than to be not married. Abayin says, right? He says like this: the shum shemana gabra, right? Even a woman, right? That if her husband is so small, he's like an ant. Kurse becharata ramula. She's going to put him in a place which is very chashuv, which means, right? I also have a good husband, right? Kilu that she's saying, right? Gamli bal kemotchem. I also have a husband. Even though the guy's a little tiny midget, she still prefers to have a husband. And Papa says, the nafsa gavna. Even if a woman has that her husband has been a pet semen, that means he's dealing with all the wolves and everything. But she means it's something disgusting that people don't like. It's like, sometimes the butchers. I don't know if you ever went to a butcher house. You ever go to a shechita house? Oh, the stench. Sometimes they have to go home. You have to take all your clothing straight to the wash. You have to wash yourself, I don't know how many times, and you still have this like of the meat and the you don't want to know, right? So he says, even like that, right? She's going to call him to come in front of everybody, and she's not embarrassed. Why? She still wants a husband. Rabashi says, even a husband, even a woman that the husband comes from a family which is not a good family. They have soul, they have doki, they have all these things. She's not going to come and even ask something cheap, right? What does that mean? It's enough that she's already married to him and that she has a name to herself. That's already enough. She doesn't, right? That means basically the woman, she wants to be married, even though it could be that she's not even happy, but she wants to be married. The Tana we learned, the Kulan, and all of these, right? Husbands, mizanot, the tolot, the balen. However, though, right? All of these husbands, where the husbands are low lives or like this, she shows them chiba, but it's only because, she shows them preciousness because she's having relations, right, behind his back, right? And then when she becomes pregnant, she's saying it's from the husband. And really, be'emet, and that's why, right, she wants a husband in order she could have kilu that, she's doing of it all. She's coming, she's sleeping around and everything. But kilu, no, she has a husband. She has a husband. But really, be'emet, she's going around and she's doing other of it all, and it's all for this. Hadran Allah, Hayisha Shalom.